Great. Are we ready? Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Dan Kritenbrink. I'm the Assistant Secretary of State for East Asia and Pacific Affairs. Really honored to be here with all of you this morning. Many illustrious scholars, academicians, practitioners here, and many good friends as well. And I really do want to start by thanking my good friend, Dr. Satu Lemay, for inviting me and for convening this incredible event here in your beautiful new offices. From convening events like these to supporting people-to-people exchanges and to helping demonstrate to the American people why the Indo-Pacific matters. The East-West Center is at the forefront of these discussions in the region. And I think, Satu, what I can conclude more than anything is that the East-West Center matters. So thank you so much for everything that you do. And I hope you'll thank as well President Susie Bar Islam for everything she does as well. And thanks for being such great friends to the Department of State. Look, I'm really delighted to be here. This is an incredibly timely event as we celebrate the one-year anniversary of the U.S. Indo-Pacific strategy. And it's always an honor to get together and to talk about America's enduring commitment to the Indo-Pacific region. Indo-Pacific strategy is a key Biden-Harris administration priority through which we have taken historic strides with allies and partners to advance our common vision for a region that is free and open, interconnected, secure, prosperous, and resilient. It's also timely because I'm sure, as many of you saw yesterday, President Biden, alongside UK Prime Minister Sunak and Australian Prime Minister Albanese, announced the optimal pathway for Australia's acquisition of conventionally armed nuclear-powered submarines under the Australia, United Kingdom, and United States, or AUKUS partnership, which is just one manifestation of America's multifaceted commitment to this vitally important region. The United States continues to demonstrate American leadership in and commitment to the Indo-Pacific, reinforcing the region's capacity and resilience to address the challenges and opportunities of the 21st century, and showing that we can build a better future together. In the minutes we have together this morning, I want to walk through with you how we hope to achieve a free and open, connected, prosperous, secure, and resilient region with our partners and allies. We, of course, face global challenges that will shape all of our futures. Some of those challenges stem from a threat to the rules, institutions, norms, and relationships that have enabled freedom, peace, stability, and prosperity, and continue to deliver broad benefits for the American people around the world. Again, just a little over a year ago, we released our Indo-Pacific strategy, and it articulates our shared affirmative vision for the region and the steps that we plan to take with allies and partners to make that reality. I encourage you to judge us not by our words, of course, but how we collectively take action to implement this strategy. I think what's most gratifying about having this job is the fact that the vast majority of countries in the region have demonstrated that they share this vision. They too want to live in a region that is free and open, where all countries, large and small, play by the rules, where large countries do not bully the weak. And our partners, therefore, are devoted to protecting the international order that has brought this unprecedented security and prosperity to many across the globe. So what I'd like to do here this morning is walk you through these 5 pillars of our Indo-Pacific strategy briefly. And then Satu tells me we can take some questions as well. So let me start with the free and open pillar, the first of our 5 pillars of the Indo-Pacific strategy. And the way I like to refer to this is that the United States stands for seeing that the international commons, the maritime domain, all of the common domains remain free and open, that the region enjoys freedom of navigation, freedom of overflight. Countries in the region can make their own sovereign decisions free from coercion. And at the same time, countries internally are governed freely, respecting human rights and other universal values. And really, our Indo-Pacific strategy is grounded in our foundational values that are universal, and the belief that a successful and stable Indo-Pacific is again rooted in the rule of law, good governance, and the protection of human rights. These values, again, are at the center of our strategy. They cut across all of our efforts. We're also working together with our allies and partners to ensure that the region remains free and open, again, by promoting not just human rights and the rule of law, but also freedom of navigation, a free and open media, and a vibrant civil society across the region. A key plank in this vision is our commitment to standing up for democracy and human rights in places like Burma, where the worsening crisis is undermining peace and stability in Southeast Asia and the broader region. In the more than 2 years since the coup in Burma, the political and humanitarian crisis on the ground continues to grow more dire. This is truly a travesty. We continue to urge the military regime to cease its horrific acts of violence, release all those unjustly detained, allow unhindered humanitarian access, and restore Burma's path to democracy. And we will continue to take steps together with our partners in the region to increase pressure on the junta to achieve that goal. We are also pursuing strategic dialogues with our allies and partners on how best to advance human rights and governance across the region. Just last month, we held the first U.S.-Japan strategic dialogue on democratic resilience to discuss joint efforts to promote human rights globally and build democratic resilience at home and abroad. Similarly, last October, we held our second annual U.S.-ROK Democracy Governance Consultation, and in November, our 26th annual U.S.-Vietnam Human Rights Dialogue. These efforts are emblematic of our work across the region. Second, let me address the connected pillar, in which we endeavor to build the collective capacity of allies, partners, and friends to buttress the rules-based order and to address common challenges. And for all of us at the State Department, the connected pillar obviously remains a key focus. We are committed to this endeavor in the Indo-Pacific, but the challenges that we face are obviously beyond the means of any one nation to address. That's why we deeply value the shared investments of so many allies, partners, and friends, and appreciate the increasing number of like-minded countries that have issued national security and Indo-Pacific strategies that share similar core precepts. ASEAN, through the ASEAN Outlook on the Indo-Pacific, Japan, the Republic of Korea, Australia, New Zealand, India, Canada, France, the EU, and the UK, and more share the same objectives of advancing openness and respect for sovereignty, promoting cooperation in regional institutions, strengthening security to assure stability, promoting prosperity, the rule of law and good governance, and building regional resilience. This strategic convergence is truly striking, breathtaking, I would say. It allows us to think boldly and be more innovative in tackling jointly the economic, climate, health, and human rights challenges in the 21st century. Together, we're investing in the strengthening of the foundations of freedom, openness, connectivity, prosperity, security, and resilience as we support the region's multilateral architecture. And we're building partnerships to tackle shared challenges in the face of powers that offer a competing vision of the world order. Again, at the core of our Indo-Pacific strategy is building connections with allies, partners, and friends within and beyond the region to create and support what we call a lattice work of strong and mutually reinforcing coalitions to build collective capacity and more innovatively tackle our shared problems together. The U.S. is significantly expanding our diplomatic engagement and presence in the region. I'll give you just a couple of examples. This includes finalizing plans to establish a new embassy in the Maldives and initiating discussions about opening new embassies in the Pacific Islands, including in Tonga and in Kiribati. And earlier this month, we were absolutely delighted that the U.S. announced the opening of our new embassy in Honiara, Solomon Islands, less than a year after the Secretary announced our intention to do so. And I would watch this space because we intend to continue expanding our presence across the region, including in the vitally important Pacific Islands. This past year, we've also invested deeply in developing the regional architecture in the Indo-Pacific. One consequential innovation of the last decade has been the elevation of flexible partnerships like the Quad. Working with our Indo-Pacific partners, Japan, Australia, and in India, we continue to put forth ambitious initiatives that deepen our ties and advance practical cooperation on 21st century challenges. These initiatives in the Quad include delivering vaccines during the acute phase of the COVID-19 pandemic, addressing the impacts of climate change, leading on high standard infrastructure, launching the Indo-Pacific Maritime Domain Awareness Initiative, and augmenting our capacity to undertake coordinated humanitarian assistance for disaster relief efforts in times of crisis. To enhance existing efforts to support Pacific priorities, we also established the Partners in the Blue Pacific. We did so with Australia, Japan, New Zealand, and the UK in June 2022, and I'm excited to state that since Partners in the Blue Pacific was established, Canada, Germany, and the Republic of Korea have also joined the initiative. Partners in the Blue Pacific is an inclusive, informal mechanism that builds on partners' long-standing commitments to the Pacific region and reaffirms their support for prosperity, resilience, and security. At the heart of the regional architecture in the Indo-Pacific, obviously, is ASEAN. Just last week, I'm literally just back from Jakarta and KL, where in Jakarta, I spent 3 days participating in the senior officials meetings related to ASEAN, both the US-ASEAN dialogue and the East Asia Summit senior officials meeting. As President Biden said during the historic US-ASEAN Special Summit that we hosted last May, the next 50 years is going to be written in Southeast Asia, and our relationship with ASEAN will shape the future that we all want to see. That's why we elevated our relationship with ASEAN to a comprehensive strategic partnership, and we've launched 5 new high-level dialogue processes on health, transportation, women's empowerment, environment and climate, and energy. The United States strongly supports ASEAN centrality. We strongly support the ASEAN outlook on the Indo-Pacific. Now, we're also building bridges between the Indo-Pacific and the Euro-Atlantic by leading on shared agendas that drive collective action. I think more than ever, we're seeing how events in Europe and Russia's war in Ukraine have implications for the Indo-Pacific, and how Beijing's quest to reshape the regional and international order also has implications for Europe. Under this administration, Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman and her EU counterpart, Secretary General Sanino, have held 4 iterations of our US-EU dialogue on China, and she has since launched our US-EU Indo-Pacific consultations to coordinate on advancing our shared values and goals in the region. Again, one of the things that has been most striking in this job over the last year and a half has been the recognition increasingly by both Asian and European friends that we're dealing with, in many respects, one theater, and that security matters in Europe and Asia are indivisible. Third, let me say a few words about the prosperity pillar of our strategy. The prosperity of everyday Americans is linked to the Indo-Pacific. It's the fastest growing region on the planet. It accounts for 60% of the world economy, 2/3 of all economic growth over the last 5 years. It's home to more than half the world's people and many of the world's largest economies. No region on earth will affect the lives and livelihoods of Americans more than the Indo-Pacific. Every defining issue of the 21st century, from climate change to global health to the future of technology, runs through the region. That means we have a responsibility to ensure the health and the prosperity of the region's economy. We're driving regional prosperity by promoting private investment, encouraging innovation, strengthening economic competitiveness, rebuilding supply chains, and expanding economic opportunities. In May 2022, President Biden launched the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity, or IPEF, together with 13 other regional partners, providing an affirmative model for economic cooperation that addresses the major challenges of the 21st century, including supply chain resilience, trade, setting the rules for the digital economy, a clean energy transition, and anti-corruption. And importantly, the membership of IPEF reflects the economic diversity of the region, as well as the interconnectivity among the partner countries that drives economic growth, job creation, and innovation. Together, the IPEF countries represent 40% of the world's GDP and includes many of the fastest growing economies. Now, similarly, we began negotiations on the US-Taiwan Initiative on 21st Century Trade, which will strengthen commercial ties with another key regional partner. My friend Matt Murray is here, and I'm very excited that this year we're hosting the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC, this year. This is Matt's full-time job as our senior official for APEC. And again, APEC is the premier platform to advance economic policies in the region, to promote free, fair, and open trade and investment, and to advance inclusive and sustainable growth. Our theme for APEC is creating a resilient and sustainable future for all, and one that advances practical economic policies as the region emerges from the pandemic. The 3 policy priorities that we've highlighted for APEC are interconnected, innovative, and inclusive. And these priorities will guide us as we work with our partners to strengthen the international economic system and develop and deliver outcomes which increase prosperity for American workers, families, and businesses. And Satu, we really appreciated the opportunity to partner with the East-West Center to kick off our APEC host year last December at the informal senior officials meeting in Honolulu. Now, beyond APEC and IPEF, we continue to support regional economies by addressing the region's infrastructure gap. We're deepening our economic engagement alongside our Quad partners through the Quad Infrastructure Coordination Group. And since 2015, Quad partners have provided more than $48 billion in official finance for infrastructure in the region, and we continue to build on this momentum. In coordination with the G7, the Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment will further advance our support for low and middle income countries to secure high standard investment for critical infrastructure. I think one other statistic that's really important to highlight when we talk about America's economic engagement with the Indo-Pacific is the fact that our annual trade flows with the region are more than $2 trillion. And America's investment in the region is more than $1 trillion, making us the largest investor by far. So whatever one says about America's economic engagement, it's clear that we are central to the Indo-Pacific's economic future, and it's clear that the region will be central to our prosperity as well. All right, fourth, let me say a little bit about our work in the security pillar. Broad-based prosperity can only be achieved in a stable and secure region. We are bolstering regional security by strengthening and modernizing our security alliances and partnerships, increasing joint military exercises, building the capacity of countries in the region to monitor their waters and cyberspace, and we're advancing the AUKUS partnership, which I mentioned earlier. Again, AUKUS is a significant step that builds on the Biden-Harris administration's commitment to two key priorities: revitalizing and modernizing our alliances and partnerships around the world to face the security challenges of the future, and enhancing our engagement in the Indo-Pacific. Through AUKUS, we will deepen our already close cooperation with Australia and the UK on a range of security capabilities to ensure continued peace, stability, and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific and beyond. And let me really underscore that. I thought, for me, the most key and important line from the president's speech yesterday was his emphasis on the fact that AUKUS is all about sustaining the peace, the stability, and the prosperity that the region has enjoyed for decades. And through AUKUS, we will continue to contribute to that peace and stability. Yesterday's announcement outlined how we will actualize AUKUS as partners work together to design and build the new SSN AUKUS to serve as a new class of submarine for Australia and the UK. We're coming together to assist Australia in modernizing its submarine fleet to use the same technology, namely nuclear-powered submarines, that many other countries in the region, such as India, the PRC, France, the UK, and Russia, as well as the United States, already deploy in the region. And as we do so, we are bolstering the economic opportunity of all three of our nations and setting the highest non-proliferation standards as we do it. AUKUS will enable continued global economic growth and prosperity through its role in helping to maintain security, stability, and predictability. Now, we're also building the capacity of countries in the region to monitor their waters. In May 2022, in a joint venture with the Quad partners, we launched a new initiative, the Indo-Pacific Partnership for Maritime Domain Awareness, IPMDA, which will provide technology and training to support enhanced shared maritime domain awareness to promote stability and prosperity across the seas and oceans. Through other initiatives such as the Maritime Security Initiative, the Southeast Asia Maritime Law Enforcement Initiative, and the Global Defense Reform Program, we will provide advisory support to enhance the security sector and maritime governance of a number of our partners, as well as U.S. Coast Guard engagement across the region. We are bolstering Indo-Pacific partners' maritime domain awareness, their resilience against coercion, disaster response, and we're building their law enforcement capabilities. We also continue to support secure and trustworthy technologies through cybersecurity cooperation and capacity building. Through the Digital Connectivity and Cybersecurity Partnership, we're working closely with governments across the region, including Timor-Leste, India, and the Philippines, to strengthen cybersecurity protections. Now, when we talk about the Indo-Pacific, I think it's hard not to say something about China. I really do want to underscore that our Indo-Pacific strategy that I'm addressing here today is obviously our affirmative vision for what we hope to achieve in the region. And as I often say, we have an Indo-Pacific strategy of which China is a part and not the other way around. But let me say just a little bit about our approach to the PRC, which provides, I think, such important context, obviously, for what we're talking about here today. As Secretary Blinken stated last year in his important speech on China that outlined our strategy, obviously the PRC is an important element of what we're trying to achieve in the region. But I think we also have to say very candidly that the PRC is also the one country that increasingly has the economic, technological, military, and diplomatic means to challenge the international rules-based order. And again, Beijing's actions suggest it has the intention to do so. The key elements of our China strategy, which you're all familiar with, are to invest, align, and compete. Mainly, we're investing in the foundations of our strength at home. We are aligning with our partners, allies, and friends on our approach to defend the rules-based order. And then we are competing with the PRC to defend our interests and build our vision for the future. Of course, as we have always made clear as well, we will also pursue cooperation with the PRC in the areas where it is in our interest to do so. But since I'm currently talking about the security pillar of our Indo-Pacific strategy, let me close out this section by stating that the United States continues to work closely with regional allies and partners to make clear to the PRC that peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait is essential to regional and global peace and prosperity. The United States remains committed to our longstanding One China policy, which is guided by the Taiwan Relations Act, the 3 joint communiques, and the 6 assurances. We oppose any unilateral changes to the status quo from either side. We do not support Taiwan independence, and we expect cross-strait differences to be resolved by peaceful means. We will continue to uphold our commitments under the Taiwan Relations Act to assist Taiwan in maintaining a sufficient self-defense capability. All right, fifth and finally, let me speak to the resilience pillar of our Indo-Pacific strategy. We're building regional resilience to the 21st century transnational threats alongside our allies and partners. A stable Indo-Pacific is resistant to shocks and crises. For example, the impacts of the climate crisis are here and growing ever more severe. And the COVID-19 pandemic continues to inflict a painful human and economic toll. COVID-19 pandemic, again, continues to threaten lives and livelihoods around the world. The Quad continues to lead global efforts for COVID-19 response and has to date pledged $5.2 billion to the COVAX AMC and delivered over 267 million doses to the Indo-Pacific. The U.S. continues to support the ASEAN Center for Pandemic Health Emergencies and Emerging Diseases in the areas of workforce development, infection prevention and control, antimicrobial resistance, respiratory disease surveillance, and zoonotic diseases. We're demonstrating U.S. leadership in the Indo-Pacific for a clean energy future that leverages market forces, technological innovation, and investments to tackle the climate crisis. For example, at the G20 summit in Bali last November, which was truly an extraordinary event, the United States and other members of the International Partners Group launched a just energy transition partnership that pursues an ambitious and just power sector transition to shift Indonesia's greenhouse gas emissions trajectory towards keeping the 1.5 degrees Celsius global warming limit within reach. And within the Just Energy Transition Partnership, Indonesia has committed to peak its power sector emissions 7 years earlier by 2030, with a goal of net zero power sector emissions by 2050. While the partnership intends to mobilize public and private financing over a 3 to 5 year period to help drive the needed energy transition. So, to conclude, the United States is deeply engaged in building collective capacity to, again, advance a free and open Indo-Pacific that is interconnected, prosperous, secure, and resilient. In the face of so many challenges, we remain guided by the foundational principles that form the bedrock of our foreign policy. That territorial integrity and political independence must be respected. That international institutions must be strengthened. Information must be allowed to flow freely. Universal rights must be upheld. And the global economy must provide opportunity for all. We're working in common cause with those who share this vision, leveraging the multilateral architecture to forge a future defined by cooperation and collaboration, shared prosperity, and steady progress. Our accomplishments under the Indo-Pacific strategy over the past year reflect not only American leadership, but also an unprecedented level of cooperation across the region to tackle global challenges and protect our shared vision of the world in the face of heightened challenges to that order. The United States knows that by working together with our partners, we can together ensure a prosperous and secure future for all in the Indo-Pacific. The benefits of this collaboration are not just reaching those in the region and partners overseas, however. Our investments across the region also pay dividends at home. As we partner to build prosperity abroad, we strengthen economic ties that buttress markets here at home. As we collaborate on public health crises, we become better prepared to protect ourselves from future pandemics. And we are an Indo-Pacific nation. What happens in the region helps secure a safer world for all of us for generations to come. Thanks so much for having me. I look forward to your questions. Want to stay here?
Well, great. The Assistant Secretary has agreed to take some questions from the room. So I know there's folks online as well. No, that's closed.
No.
Okay, great. Now just in the room. So I
So
can't
now
see
you can
all,
really have that.
now you can really have it. So I can't see all of you at the end. Yeah, but please raise your tech cards and then just identify yourself, please. I see Frank Januzzi, who I